Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube page. I'm a history major and I love U.S. history. We all think, when we think of our forefathers, right, everybody thinks about George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, Alexander Hamilton. If you really, like myself, if you really study American history, you're going to find these individuals that are not popular, but are the ones that, in my viewpoint, the ones that were real heroes, the ones that really cared about creating a government that is for the people and by the people. A lot of our forefathers, they were business people, right? So they made decisions to enrich themselves. All right. Alexander Hamilton, even George Washington, right, being a large estate owner, right? He had some selfish reasons to promote laws that would benefit him, right? Same with Thomas Jefferson, same with John Adams. But there was a man named Herman Husband, all right? Herman Husband. And most of us have never heard of this gentle person. In the mid-1700s, when the American colonies were still tied to Britain, a tall, plain-spoken farmer named Herman Husband walked the fields of Maryland and North Carolina. He wasn't a man of wealth or power, but he had something rare, a fierce belief that ordinary people like you and me, the common man, deserved justice. He wasn't a landowner. He wasn't a businessman, right? He wasn't worried about making profit for himself. He's a man that had principle. He was born in 1724, grew up with the Bible in one hand and books of reform in the other. He joined the Quakers, drawn to their ideals of equality and honesty. But unlike many who kept their faith private, Husband believed that religion should inspire action. Religion should inspire action. To him, it wasn't enough to pray quietly. One had to speak against corruption when it hurt neighbors. By the 1760s, colonial officials in North Carolina had become infamous for squeezing farmers with excessive taxes and court fees. Sheriffs and politicians lined their pockets while common people struggled to survive. Husband, who lived among those farmers, took up his pen and began to write pamphlets. His words called for reform, fairness, and accountability. He urged people to stand together against injustice, not with violence, but with reason and persistence. These writings lit a fire. Farmers across the backcountry formed a regular movement, determined to resist corrupt officials. To them, Herman Husband became both guide and conscience, an unlikely leader who wore simple clothes and spoke plainly but carried conviction that could move crowds. In 1771, the regulators clashed with the colonial militia at the Battle of Alamance. Gunfire thundered, smoke filled the fields, and the regulators were crushed. Though Husband hadn't taken up arms, he was blamed as one of their leaders. Arrested and accused, he narrowly escaped harsh punishment, but he carried with him the scars of a dream that had failed. After the Revolution, Husband resettled in Pennsylvania. Once again, farmers found themselves oppressed. This time not by the British officials, but by the new American government's tax on whiskey. The good old tax. A tax that cut deeply into frontier livelihoods. Though older now, Husband's spirit had not dimmed. He encouraged farmers to protest peacefully, warning against bloodshed but refusing to accept injustice. His name again became linked to the rebellion, the Whiskey Rebellion of 1794, the rebellion of the common man that was crushed by the new American government. For the second time in his life, he was accused of treason. For the second time, he narrowly escaped execution, but the years of strain wore him down. In 1795, Herman's husband passed away, not as a rich man who never stopped believing in the voice of the people. Today, if you know him, which majority of Americans do not know Herman's husband, today he is remembered as a radical reformer, a man who lived simply yet spoke powerfully against corruption. His life was a reminder that true courage doesn't always come from generals or kings, but from ordinary people who dare to stand for injustice, even when the cost is great. See, Herman's husband is remembered as a voice for ordinary farmers and working people. He stood up against unfair taxation and government corruption. And this is why we have a multi-trillion dollars deficit, because our government, unfortunately, has lost its ways. I am proud to be an American citizen. I emigrated to this country when I was 10 years old, and I'm an American. But I do believe that the common man has been the victim of government waste and government corruption. And we need to look at people like Herman's husband, who fought to fight injustice and corruption. And we need more people like Herman's husband in our communities. People that are true supporters of a democratic government. God bless the United States of America.